Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Snarp Fangle Podcast, episode 70. It's kind of crazy. I'm your host, Jake Metzger, your average fellow wandering about the treks of Northern California, beard and face and phone in hand and headphones in ears. That's me. And today I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, who's got just the most delectable Tumblr haircut. He's looking more like a hipster every day. Ladies and gentlemen, David Reed.
I don't appreciate that.
Okay,
I don't appreciate the hipster comparison.
Hipster
okay?
comparison. What else could I do? Like millennial, the anti-millennial archetype,
I don't
or
know.
the current millennial archetype.
I'm just messing around. I don't really care.
Oh, I don't know. It's
Richard calls me a hipster all the time because I like things like
music.
craft beer and music and coffee.
Yeah, those weird Eastern European metal bands along with your IPAs.
Indeed.
I think that would probably label you as the elder millennial, we'll say. No, you're not.
No,
really elder
no,
millennial.
no.
Thad's an elder millennial.
I'm towards the elder side of the spectrum, but not quite there.
Yeah.
I'm like the eldest of the mid millennials.
Yeah, and I'm like towards either. Well, in your terminology, or excuse me, your opinion.
You're like a baby millennial.
Like a baby millennial. Like just the
like
cusp.
a newborn baby.
A newborn baby.
Crying for its milk.
Crying for
and its safe space.
Not quite. But at one point, I'm sure I did. Don't all babies cry for milk and safe spaces, you know? And yet we use that for college students. So there we go.
I mean,
I don't know what milk they're drinking. It's in the coffee, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that Arnold Schwarzenegger once said that milk is for babies. When you grow up, you have to drink beer. And I've taken those words to heart, and I've lived by them ever since.
I'm really impressed with that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, in my opinion, I'm more of the very, 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 very elder. The most elder you can get of the Gen Zs is what I will say.
Which is like a baby millennial anyway.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's
all
in
between.
It's all in that gray zone, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I was trying to think of my parents, because one was born in 1955, the other in 1959.
Your parents are boomers.
Yeah, they're boomers. But
which
I think
would make you a millennial.
Would it now?
I don't make the rules. I just enforce them.
Yes, they had several Gen Xers. No, just two. Two Gen Xers.
No, just one.
Oh, yeah, just Angela. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thad's a millennial.
Thad's the elder millennial.
Yeah. That's his official biblical title. The elder millennial. That's what he is.
Someone needs to get a plaque for his office door or whatever that says Thaddeus Metzger, elder millennial.
Well, you know, his birthday's just a little bit away here, like a month and a half away. So, well, also it's weird too, because he was born on like late July, but he's basically like, I think in the, astrology, of all the astrology signs, he's a Leo, technically. So he's like another in-betweener, kind of like I'm an in-betweener of a millennial and Gen Z. It's weird. It's interesting. I don't know how astrology works, and I don't wish to learn it.
Yeah, me neither.
The women taught us how to use. No, I'm joking. How to use the astrologies. Well, anyway, here we are, David. Episode 70 of the Snarp Fangle Podcast. Thank you, those out there listening. If you want to hear more of this chicanery and this tomfoolery, and you want to input some of your own, send them on over to snarpfanglepod@gmail.com. So here we are, David. We are here. We're actually, for the first time recording this since and forever, our AC is actually fixed and working. And let me tell you, I am very happy. This is like the first podcast we've recorded in this room within probably since April that hasn't been over 80 degrees inside. Like, I'm very impressed. Like, it's 78. It's where the AC is set right now. I like to set a little bit lower, but you know what? 78, I can do with that. As a fat guy, I'll sweat if I start working, but that's just being a fat guy. So, yeah, I'm very happy about the AC, David.
Same.
So happy. So cool. It is very nice, actually. So, yeah, for those out, shout out to all our folks out there that have no AC in California. Most of them live in probably San Francisco. But do we have any fans in San Francisco? SF is Snarp Fangle. SF is also San Fran. So what are we thinking, David? Do we have any San Fran folks?
I don't know if we want to be making those comparisons, you know.
Yeah, we could bring on some. We could cross some weird signals there.
You know. You know what they say is don't cross the streams.
That's right.
Don't cross the streams.
Stream is meant to be there for a reason. And for those crazy children who try to build ditches across them, sometimes they're not meant to be that way. Like if we do a podcast on astrology, David, to try to advertise to the San Francisco folks, it might not work very well.
No, it wouldn't work very well. That would definitely be crossing streams.
You gotta be intentional about who your target is, you know? I have no idea who our target is, except for maybe folks that look a little bit like you and me, maybe, with a beard.
Maybe.
You know?
I would say people who don't live in San Francisco. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody else, you're welcome. But if you live in San Francisco, we don't want you as a fan. No.
Yeah, we don't want you. No.
Can't you see we don't watch you anymore? Get out of here, you stupid, dumb animal.
Wait, what's that from? Is that Harry and the Hendersons?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
yes,
dude.
yes.
Oh, man, that movie's interesting. Did you watch that growing up?
I watched it a couple times.
Yeah.
It wasn't it wasn't in the rotation, that's for sure. But I did see it a couple times.
I remember I had it in my rotation once or twice as a child, maybe like an early teen. I like that movie with what's his face as the dad. It was Lord Farquaad himself. I always forget the guy's Third Rock Around the Sun dude. What's his name? You remember?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna have to look it up. It's gonna bother me. Everybody's screaming at me right now. Who played Lord?
Yes, all 12 of our listeners are
Farquaad
screaming at the screen right now.
John Lithgow. That's right.
Yes.
Thank you. Shout out to John Lithgow. Who, did you hear, David, that he's going to be playing Dumbledore in the new HBO adaptation of Harry Potter?
No.
Yeah.
What a strange world we live in.
What a very, very bizarre thing. And I guess J.K. Rowling personally picked him, and they did some tests and some auditions, and he's the guy who's now Dumbledore. The new Dumbledore, we'll say.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel about that show. I don't care about the movies really, or even the books. Like I neither grew up with them, and when I was given the chance to, I just never took it. I'm like, that's okay. I was reading them Spiderwick Chronicles. That's what I was reading. And Sisters Grimm. Shout out to Sisters Grimm.
So basically just inferior novels that capitalize on the success of Harry Potter. Gotcha. No, I'm kidding. I don't
One
really...
was about, well, they're both about fairy tales, which was basically, it all leads back to Shrek, we'll say. Because Shrek popularized that thing. Well, it popularized the, for the lack of a better term, perversion of fairy tales. And the twist on fairy tales. Like the twist on expectations with fairy tales. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean.
Well, like Shrek, you have Shrek and you have the wolf from Three Little Pigs, but he's just this dude who's in a dress all the time. As well as the gingerbread man who just hangs out with the donkey, in the beginning of Shrek, they're selling all the fairy tale creatures and stuff, and then they harbor in Shrek's swamp, and then that's what gets the movie going.
I was under the impression that Shrek was just a straight adaptation of Grimm's fairy tales with no alterations whatsoever. That's what I've been told my entire life.
I'm sure there's a little bit more to it than that.
No, I'm just kidding. I know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, it's funny because that led to, of course, many a media capitalizing on the success of Shrek. I'd probably blame Sisters Grimm, which is a very compelling young adult set of novels.
Compelling and young adult just don't exist in the same universe for me.
You can be compelling in adults or compelling in kids, but not young adults. Like there's some compelling kids movies out there.
Yeah, I'm just like,
look at Pixar.
Like young adult literature, most of it, in my opinion, is dreadful.
Like Harry Potter?
I would consider
would that be?
that's more of a children's
That's
book.
more of a children's book. Yeah.
Young adult literature is like, it's for people who are like 13 and up.
Yes. That's what I would label that as. Yeah.
And in my experience, most of it's dreadful.
Yeah, it's weird. Like if you look at the line of like popular books and culture or whatever, you had like the fairy tale phase, you had like the magical, like legend phase with like Twilight, mythological, I guess, and then you had like dystopian phase with like Hunger Games popularizing itself. You had stuff like The Maze Runner. What's the other ones I read as a teenager? Divergent, which is a terrible, terrible book series. I'm just here to say it now. The books are horrible. I know you don't care, David, but I'm just saying. They're really bad.
I think I've made this joke before, but like all I want to see.
I love how I'm referencing just a bunch of stuff that you just have no idea what's happening.
is a sequel to that series called Neurodivergent.
Yes, that's right. Wow, look at us. We're self-referential on this podcast already at episode 70. Let's be honest. We were self-referential at episode 3, probably. Anyway. David, I've come to the congregation of Snarp Fangles here, if I could divert this just a little bit. And I wanted to bring up some things here and see what you think of them. The first one, let me see, I have my list here, and I guess you could kind of like congregate them in the way I have them here. But let's start with YouTubers changing. And I'm talking like in every aspect. So the reason why I bring this up is I was going through, I had a rare day where I was in front of my computer and I didn't have a whole lot to do. I was organizing like bookmarks, browser stuff, just useless things, right? For more efficiency later on. And as I was doing this, I was going through and I got distracted and I was looking at my YouTube subscription feed and who I was subscribed to. And I had like, there's an obscene amount of people. I need to go and clean it up, which is what I was doing. I was going through all my subscriptions, and I was just clearing them out. Like opening new tabs on each one, seeing if I'm interested or vaguely interested in them, and then seeing if I want to stay subscribed or whatever. And there's a lot I'm like, I don't care about this person. This is a channel that died like 5 years ago, whatever. And I found one. It was very peculiar. I can't remember for the life of me. It is basically a channel that talked about like JRPGs and RPGs and video games. And he did like analysis on like the Tales series and the Trails of whatever series and all kinds of random JRPGs like Persona, video game stuff. And I think I subscribed to him because he had a video on Fire Emblem or whatever. And I was subscribing to him and I watched like 2 of his videos and I'm like, I don't need this person anymore. And then what kind of cemented that, and I'm trying to be a little delicate describing this, but basically I went to the channel and he had a video that said, "Hi, I'm Lexi." And I went and I'm like, wait a second. So I opened that video, and before I did, I went down to videos. I went to that video and I saw this person named Lexi say, "Hi, I'm Lexi. You might recognize me as so-and-so of this channel." I'm like, okay, I know what's going on here. And so I went and watched another older video of hers. And I found, this person sounded a little different, a little heavier in tone. And I'm like, oh, this person was Alex at one point. And I remember watching his videos and I liked them a lot. And then I go back over to the tab that says, "Hi, my name's Lexi." And I couldn't really get past it. Like I watched it for like a minute, not even that, 30 seconds. And this person who's now Lexi is saying, I've recently come out as transgender and all this other kind of stuff. And as I was watching, I was like, all right, I was already done with this channel, so I'm just going to unsubscribe. And now this is like cementing it. Because to me personally, I think I'm not alone in this too. Whenever a person I really, really like, the person I go to for comfortability, if that's a word, and escape.
You could just say comfort.
Comfort. Thank you.
Because
David.
that is in fact a word.
Yes.
If you were unclear on that, comfort is a word.
Okay, thank you.
You can use it whenever you want. Feel free.
Well, I don't think I'm alone in this. I would like your input because for me, before I hand it off to you, for me, when I go to somebody to get some escape from the real world, to get some comfort, we'll say, in watching and consuming their content, I don't really like it a whole lot when they do drastic changes. And I'm not talking about just the transgender thing, although I think we can explore on that a little bit here, which I would like to actually. However, back to the earlier point of YouTubers or content creators or whatever changing. I know a lot of people don't go through their algorithm in quotes and do like, oh, I'm interested in this or not interested in that, even though it's a feature. It's just an add-on to the experience. It's not necessary. With YouTube, on the other hand, and us millennials, you and me, we will very much like our YouTube. We like our YouTube Premium, and we like ad-free stuff. And so when we go to this place where we skip all the ads or we have none at all, and we watch this content, I remember watching this person's Alex videos, and he did a good job. And I think he does very good content. He's very consistent. He basically did a video every 3 days out of the week. And I'm like, this guy's pretty dedicated. He may be a weeb or maybe even a gooner potentially, which is probably how all this came about. And that's what I want to get into later on. But what do you think about this? About, hey, this person is now shifting their conversation and their interests into a totally different thing, and that's not what I signed up for. Have you ever had that experience before?
Let's see. I don't have a huge number of channels that I subscribe to, so part of that is I'm a little bit more selective. Like there's quite a few channels whose videos I watch semi-regularly and I'm not subscribed to them. So I guess I've never really felt the need to cull my subscription, so I don't have that experience just starting off.
Sure. I don't think many people would actually either.
But I don't know. I feel like if it's someone I've subscribed to, like, it takes a lot for me to not want to watch their content anymore. Like, for example, I'm subscribed to the YouTuber JonTron. And his content has shifted over the years. He started off as a gaming channel and moved on to kind of like a more general video essay type channel. And I still enjoy it because the things that make him enjoyable to watch are still there. Then there's like the Quartering, who I subscribed to a while ago. And then finally, after just getting tired of his terrible clickbait, I finally just stopped watching his videos, though I am still subscribed to him.
Yeah, same.
You know? So it takes a lot for me personally.
Okay. Yeah, I think it might not be necessarily exclusive to, let's say, YouTube. It could just be an account you follow that provides memes on Facebook, or a group on Facebook that kind of changes direction. Heck, people probably have listened to certain radio, like disc jockeys throughout the years, and then either they switch out the disc jockeys or switch out the personalities, and then it's kind of not the same anymore. Kind of like when, here's a random example, when Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller left IGN to go do Kind of Funny, which is now a pretty sizable gaming and movie podcast network. When they went to go change that, a lot of the writing that they did for IGN and for that kind of platform. Kind of, it's a random example. I get you, but when that talent left that publication, you could tell. Like when you can, like your favorite writer of a magazine isn't writing those articles anymore. You can tell when they leave, or they swap them out, or you say, hey, it's not him anymore, or hey, this is not the same show, even though these hosts have been here for years and now they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that and what would it take? You say it takes a lot for you. I would generally agree with that.
I actually can't think of one example now that I think about it.
Okay.
Of a change in direction making me lose interest in a creator's content. So I've been following a channel called Team 4 Star for a long time, and they are the masterminds behind the Dragon Ball Z Abridged series.
Oh yeah.
And I subscribe to them for the purpose of watching Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And so after a certain point, when they finished the Cell Saga, I believe it was, they just stopped. They just stopped working on Dragon Ball Z Abridged. They put out other content, but they stopped working on Dragon Ball Z Abridged. They stopped doing that type of content. And yeah, it was just like, for that, it was like, that was like the whole reason I was interested in them. Like their other videos, I tried watching it, but it was like, not my thing. But yeah. So that was one where a change in direction actually made me stop watching. And the sad part of it too is they could have been working on that to this day with no drop in quality from when they first started, because they actually released like little teasers of like just little snippets they did of what would it have looked like to do Dragon Ball Z Abridged for the next saga, which I believe was the Boo saga.
They had way more to do if they wanted to.
Yes, but they didn't do like whole episodes or anything. They just released little shorts of just like little scenes that they re-edited and revoiced and all that. And they were good. They were funny.
But they were shorts.
And so it was like I was kind of like extra done at that point. It was like, I mean, I get that people can choose to do what they want, but like this Dragon Ball Z Abridged was the whole reason I subscribed to the channel. And now that you're not doing that anymore, even though you could, and you could still make it good, and you've demonstrated that you could still make it good, I'm definitely not watching anymore.
Yeah, there's been some times where I find videos of just random stuff, and for archival purposes, I'll hit subscribe on them and then go back and see what the video was later. And these are channels that have like 7, 15 max videos on their channel. And it was just like, oh, their own personal thing they did for like a year or 2 years, and then they were kind of done or whatever, or life went on and they were kind of finished with it. One of those examples was, it's like, the channel's called Laura something, but Brian Jakes, the author, visited like her local library, and she filmed it on like her camcorder back in like 2009. And she posted these videos in 5 parts. He was at this library. He's the author of Redwall, for those uninitiated. And I have several of the books in there, and they're great books. Even if you're not into the young adult kind of stuff, it's like, or the young adult genre, it's a very great example of strong Christian morals told through the tale of mice and woodland animals. But these are like anthropomorphic. He was basically a great anthropomorphic.
So you're saying he's a Christian furry? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You know what?
There's
probably some folks that took it the wrong way.
That's a joke.
And did some fan fictions, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Brian Jakes, who's this this I think he's Scottish. But anyway, he brought a lot of that good old fashioned across the pond feel to those books. And he's a very, very great author. Especially the way he describes food. And I can get more deeper into what he does, but basically he's a great author, great book series of Redwall. He's done so many wonderful stories within that universe. And that was his thing. And we grew up reading them as kids, me and my sisters, but basically we found on YouTube that he visited a local library. This chick filmed it and she put it up on YouTube. And it's, of course, the most viewed thing on our channel. And it got the algorithm and it got recommended and we watched it. And it was awesome because he was like, it's this rare thing where this author is like just super like ready to say hi, has a great sense of humor. He's like this old grandpa kind of figure. He got up and stood and talked for like a good 25 to minutes to half an hour. And just talked in front of all these kids and their parents. And they were just, he made jokes, asked questions. He answered questions from them, the audience. And it was just a really cool experience. And it's cool also because this is like, for archival purposes, it's there. And he also passed away, I believe, in the mid-20 teens. I could be wrong. Yeah, I think in the mid-20 teens. So it was really cool. So I hit subscribe and she's just in that list. And I was going through that list and I'm like, oh, shoot, yeah, these are the Brian Jakes videos. And so that's one of the reasons I'll like, just for archival purposes. But
I don't think I've ever subscribed to a channel for archival purposes.
I mean, you're also talking to somebody who's like a big fan of them old websites called like loudtronics.me and clipconverter.cc where YouTube to MP4.com and MP3.com, you know what I mean? Where you'll download YouTube videos as an MP3 file or an MP4 file, and you'll store them on your hard drive or flash drive at home. So we mostly did that because we live in the country and the internet was slow. So waiting like 20 minutes for a 5-minute video to download was better than watching it stream on 240p on YouTube because the downloaded version was 480p. That's where we're coming from. So anyway, but I remember watching those and I'm like, man, this is so great. But if she deletes her channel one day, then they're all gone. So anyway, so there's that example, but I don't really go to that channel for consistency or whatever. But there's a lot of channels I do. And there's a lot of people who do daily content or weekly content or monthly content that are really great stuff. But when somebody like takes it in a different direction, I'll give you an example. I remember when Linus Tech Tips did this, when they started using thumbnails to basically like they went more in the clickbait direction. Very obnoxious, loud, strange thumbnails where, like we know today, basically. The average thumbnail we know today. And before it was like a picture of them in front of their like set with the words on the bottom. That's what their thumbnail was. And it's exactly what it was described as. Now the thumbnails they did after this, the community had a huge pushback. They're like, what the heck is this? This is all clickbait or whatever. It really deterred me from watching their content. But after actually clicking on some of their stuff, all these clickbait and quotes thumbnails basically had to do with whatever they were talking about. So they weren't necessarily lying. It's just the attention grabber. And they did a pretty decent job of discussing this with the audience and actually like took the feedback and said, you know what, we're going to keep doing this, but we hear you, but we're going to keep doing this. But the way they handled it was actually, I think in my opinion, pretty well done, or at least acceptable from my view, where I stayed subscribed. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You guys still provide me a really valuable product and I'm going to stay this way.
Nah.
But with this YouTuber, formerly known as Alex, now be named Lexi, I was already done with him because I'm like, I'm not really into any of these JRPGs anyway. And I've only watched like one video from you and I never dived deeper. So I kind of like, I'm already going to unsubscribe. But then on top of that, you get this like transgender version of this person now. And so I want to know what you think about this, because not just with YouTubers changing or content creators or whatever, what have you, it's kind of like the change is very drastic as well. And I just find it interesting. And it kind of goes into morality. And I want to be delicate describing this because if you are an adult and you live that way, that's fine. With kids, it's a totally different discussion, which this is not this case. But with this, it's kind of weird because every example I've seen of this, at least from a YouTuber like perspective, whenever I see somebody change genders, for example, you can obviously tell they're struggling with something. They're struggling with their identity, first off, which is always the case, which is why this happens in the first place. It also might have to do with what they're influenced by.
It's okay. You can say it. Being transgender is weird and off-putting. It's fine.
I don't know. It's just, for me, I've worked with quite a few people who are transgender, and most of them are kind of lost. They don't really know what they're doing, and they think this is the best way of making them feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And I really kind of don't jive with that. I really don't pick up whatever that's putting down, especially in ideological terms, but in the way they live, especially. And I just don't think changing your body physically with drastic changes, like, I kind of even disagree with the sense of people having surgery to lose weight really quickly. I kind of even disagree with that because I'm like, well, we already know there's a way to do it. So why don't you just stick to that way and wait a year and see what happens, which is hard. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I haven't done it for a reason. However, it works. So kind of taking this pharmaceutical approach to this kind of drastic change in your identity is just something I just don't like personally.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced like someone I was following became transgender.
Mm.
There was I have watched a fair amount of Blair White as a transgender YouTuber.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a little bit of its own separate thing.
Yeah, it's its own separate thing. I would
So,
say.
yeah.
It's also hard to talk about too sometimes. Because you're like, Blair White. I didn't even know she was a guy beforehand, first off. I was like, whoa, really? No way.
Well, I mean, with you spend enough money, you can make your
That's true.
You can make yourself look pretty much however you want.
Yeah. Funny tidbit about us, audience, is that we actually know a family member of Blair White very randomly, and I won't go into details for sake of anonymity of the person, but we met and hung out with that person, which turned out to be her mother. Or,
Yeah.
her mother, whatever. And then I totally forgot about it until like later on in life. And I was like, holy crap, really? And then like we followed her mom on Facebook, and sure enough, I was like, what? No way. That's awesome. So yeah, we know Blair White's mom at some point in our lives. So shout out to Blair White's mom and Blair White. So yeah, I guess.
Oh my God.
Anyway, but I kind of want to also next, I want to dive into like morality and like specifically Hollywood's morality. And then from there we can go into Hollywood stuff. But this person who's now Lexi, I know I'm still hung up on this thing. I'm sorry, I apologize. But there's a point to it because there's also shout out to, speaking of Lexi, my sister followed a YouTuber and had the same experience. She followed a YouTuber named Chocolate Milk Gamer. And it was just this dude who made funny YouTube videos based off Breath of the Wild. And they were like for kids and they were clean somewhat. And he had a really funny sense of humor. And he would just make Nintendo content. And it was pretty cool. And then he changed his name to something. I can't remember. But it was a big drastic shift. And it was very weird and off-putting, and maybe not intentionally for that person, but for the audience, you can take it however which way you want. It's all about communication at the end of the day. But that experience was also strange. I'm like, oh, Chocolate Milk Gamer is now like Brittany or whatever. Like, it's kind of strange. But this whole Alex thing, I don't know, it was just bizarre to me, David. It was just weird. And I'm like, Like my heart goes out to that person because I'm like, I know that person's lost in a certain sense and they're trying to find themselves. But I mean, there's also the aspect of they were covering JRPG stuff, a lot of weeb anime content, David. Does that have something to do with it, you know?
I don't know. I mean,
I think the court's out. I think the jury's out on that one.
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms right there.
Do you want to open that can of worms?
Not particularly.
I would like to, but maybe that's for a different podcast. I would like to, but I just find it interesting how, like, and I'm not saying all weebs or anime folk are necessarily gooners, but I feel like if you're inundated with that stuff 24/7, at some point you're going to struggle with who you are. Maybe. If you don't have a firm foundation, we'll say.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that could be used for anything, though. It goes back to like the morality in media kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I would have to say that just like basing your whole identity on any kind of media could lead to problems down the road. Because it's like, I've watched plenty of anime.
Yeah, same.
And
I'm no gooner.
Yeah, I'm not in any danger of announcing that I'm a woman tomorrow, you know? So, but also I don't make watching anime or playing JRPGs, even though I've done a lot of both. I don't make that my whole identity.
Yeah.
So I just think it's less about the gooning to the JRPG stuff and more about filling the void in your soul with media instead of God.
That's good. That's good. Can you expound more on that?
Well, there's a theological concept that is commonly known as the God-shaped hole in our hearts. And basically, it's the idea that we are all made in God's image, and we're made to have communion with the Lord. We are not made to be separated from Him. So when sin enters and corrupts mankind, and mankind becomes separated from God, there's now something missing in the heart of man, something that he yearns for, something that makes him incomplete. And because we live in an age of just denying God in general, people fill that void in their lives with all sorts of things. And one thing that can often fill that void, or at least you can attempt to fill the void with, is media consumption.
Yeah, I mean, if you're lost, you're at some point wandering. It's just scientific, or mostly common sense, I would say. And in that wandering, you might find something that you attach yourself to, and maybe hold on a little bit too tightly to it. And to the point where you're inundated with it, you know?
Yeah, and of course, this sort of God-shaped hole in the heart of man phenomenon manifests itself differently, because there are plenty of non-believers who seem like otherwise well-adjusted people. But generally, you'll find that people like that, the way they're filling the void in their lives is with things like having a successful career, you know, creating something, starting a family, you know, doing works of service for one's community, you know, things like that, which were created by God for humans to do. So even though they deny God in their mind, they're kind of filling their soul with the things that God intended for them anyway. So the effect is less pronounced. But when somebody who doesn't have a family, who doesn't have a successful career, who hasn't created anything, who has no desire to go out and be a part of his community, they turn to much more unhealthy things to fill that void in their soul. And that's when you start to see the real problems crop up.
Yeah, I get what you're saying here. It reminds me of some friends that I know that are in that same boat, and I think that's one of the more pronounced issues in society is not lonely men, but men who have no purpose. And I think that goes back to that kind of discussion, which we've, I think, talked about before. But in terms of that, it reminds me of a buddy of mine who, he works full time. And the thing he looks forward to most is Saturday nights playing D&D with his buddies, or spending all of Saturday, spending time, and they're doing a D&D campaign. I'm like, oh, that's cool, And somebody who comes from somebody that comes from like youth ministry and all this other stuff, that church and whatnot. That's just your weekends are full. That kind of freedom is very, very envying, I guess. But. And it's nice. Like, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I want people to live their lives and live them to the fullest, But living them to the fullest requires them to put more work into it, I would say, than that kind of stuff. No, don't get me wrong. If you want to go every Saturday, play D&D with your buddies, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I encourage it. Go out and make friends and go do that. And, play the new persona and goon out. I don't care. But, like, go, it's cool that you're excited for these things. And, in the capitalist, materialist society we live in, don't make that your main thing, is what I would caution. Because I have, in moments of my life, done that. And it's like, oh, the escape is everything I want. Or it's everything I need right now. This fills the hole in me to the extent is, listening to a podcast and playing Stardew Valley. Like this, I'm in my comfort zone. I'm chilling out. I got my Dr. Pepper. This is some good times happening right now. But what I would say to that is have something else besides that. Like,
or, seek the Lord.
There you go. That too. Because some people fill that part of their lives in terms of like the church thing or the God thing or whatever with like political stuff. I've noticed too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it becomes way more apparent to me the more basically I live, where people go out and they think being, part of this certain thing on the weekend is really exciting. And it's for the better, it's for the good. We're enacting our constitutional right. And don't worry, I'm not getting into current events. I'm just saying that's just the more I see that. Like, for example, buddy of mine, won't say his name, but I saw I saw him marching in Chico, or no, it was downtown Sac. Doing them no king protests, and he's like, yo, hashtag no kings. And I was like, dang, Bobby, that's kind of cool. Like, but I was like, dang it, Bobby, be careful, like it was kind of that too. Like, I mean, that's cool if you wanna, but
you can say it, Jake.
Huh? Yeah. What?
Rioting in the streets is weird. It's weird and off-putting.
It's not It's not the first thing I would do in my life to go have fun. But if you want to go do it, and also like it could be an excuse for your buddies, hey, let's go down to Sac, bro, and all the cute chicks, or maybe not very cute chicks, are going to be there anyway, and we'll just go hang out at the bar that night, go march, get some exercise in, no hashtag no kings, bro, and get some credibility on our Instas,
I don't think people who are going to no kings protests,
I'm thinking from the frat boy perspective,
are doing it from approaching it in.
They're
not approaching it in that healthy of a
No, it's not healthy at all, I would say. I would argue it's not healthy. I would argue it's not even organic at all. I think it's just, it's happening. And we're just following it, wherever it started, that's a different discussion. But
You.
no, I'm just kidding. But anyway,
that's the normal.
I was like,
that's the far right answer to everything is Jew. The Jews did it.
The Jews did. Oh God, if we weren't canceled already. But anyway, what am I talking about? Of course, we've been canceled 17 times, I think, on this show at this rate, but we're still here, David.
Indeed.
Even with all the protesters outside, we're doing great.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But I don't know. I saw that and I'm like, it made me think. I'm like, well, Bobby, I think that's cool. And I like that. I think he's a cool guy. Like, I like him. But seeing that, I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, I'm going to go on with my day. And then I see like some other prior coworkers of mine put that stuff on their stories. And there's some of them, you know, they're dudes. And I know 100% they're doing it to get credibility with their girlfriends. Like, I just, in my mind, whenever I see them post that stuff, I'm like, how? The only reason you would do this is either if you're incredibly ignorant and you have no idea what's happening, and or you're doing it to press your girl. Like, hey, girl, I'll support this here. I put it on my Insta. And that's the credibility you can get. And some people are like that.
To people like
some
that.
Some people are desperate for women, you know?
To people like that, I will say one thing and one thing only. Simpin' ain't pimpin'.
Yes, simpin' ain't pimpin'. Thank you, David. But I don't know. I saw those. I see this. And I don't know. I don't think they're all connected. But I think the Alex thing really kicked it off for me this week, where I'm like, man. Or excuse me, the hi, my name is Lexi thing is like, man, there's got to be. I'll give a great example. There is where I work. And as it is usual in California, you have to do a training online. And for those who are familiar with it, you got to do a section on diversity and gender. That's just how it is in California. It's kind of retarded, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You got to keep your job. So you sit there and watch a video for like an hour or write a thing up and you're done. I had to do it for a training in my work here. And I had to like read some articles and watch a video and give my thoughts on it. Basically, it was like a school assignment or whatever, basically. And it was like, describe like what you think of this and it gives examples of stuff that are in this thing so that we know you watched it. And I basically said, sometimes in life, when people are trying to find themselves, the best way to do it, and not saying this is a for sure thing to work, that works, but generally, it's the first step on the right path, is not focusing inward, but focusing outward to kind of invest in yourself, not in yourself, but in other people. Now, before I go forward, yes, there's absolutely a thing where you must make sure your cup is full so that it can overflow to others. I'm talking the biblical kind of side of things. But if you're a person that is trying to really, is wandering and is looking for the meaning of life, try to invest it in other people. Because as you grow older, after you get married, after you get kids, that's what's really important. And the escape is the escape, and you can go to the escape. But don't make it your whole life. I mean, if you're a content creator, it's different. Like, that's your livelihood. But I wrote basically in the thing, like, oh, invest in other people. Like, go hang out with a friend you haven't connected with in a while. See if they're open to that. Go to the bars, go to a bar with somebody or whatever, or try to go talk to somebody or make some friends or whatever, like kind of like what the Jordan Peterson of 2015 was trying to do, or 2016 or what have you. And I think that's much more, it's a first step in the right direction with, I think, the inevitable goal being build a relationship with God, which is what my first answer would be. But if I'm trying to connect to somebody and I know they're not religious, say the truth in love, but I feel like
tell them they're going to hell.
You can tell them you're going to hell, but maybe encourage them in some ways.
Yes, encourage them that they're going to hell.
I don't know, David. What do you think of all this? That's what I wrote in my little write-up or whatever. Like, I think investing in other people is a good first step. Looking at it from their perspective, I guess.
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying earlier is we all got to fill the void in our souls somehow.
Yeah.
And if you ain't going to fill the void with God, then you're going to have to seek out some other things.
Yeah.
And
Look, if you're a gooner, go talk to people. Like, get out of your gooner mindset and, stop playing Stellar Blade and go chill out with your homies,
Yeah. But yeah, so if you're going to fill it with other things, you're going to be more successful and feel more fulfilled if you're filling that void in your soul with things that God designed humans to do. That is to build things, to invest in other people, to create communities, to start families. Like, God designed us to do those things. So if you're going to try to fill the void in your soul and God's just not the answer for you for whatever reason, then you're going to feel more fulfilled if you do things like that instead of gooned anime, So that's just common sense. But ultimately,
it might not be the best way to spend your time.
Yeah, ultimately, though, it's like this life it's not all there is.
It's short.
So, yeah, it can end at any moment. So, as far as investing in things that aren't God, all I can say is your mileage may vary.
Let me see if I can find it. I want to read what I wrote because what was the instructions? Oh, yeah. Watch the video. 5 non-binary people explain what non-binary means to them, which was a waste of time. Number 2, skim the summary section and actively read the comments section of Assembly Floor Analysis of a California Assembly Bill 2315, which basically was talking about not discriminating people on if they transition, that kind of thing.
Yeah, don't discriminate against anime gooners.
Exactly. And then number 3, review the prideflag.org thing about what all the terms of pride means, basically. Basically, more waste of your time. So I'm trying to find my submission for this. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Bookmark. Oh, complete. Submission. Here we go. Hold tight, David. I might have it here. Let's see. Oh, comments. Oh, here it is. Okay, I found it. Oh, God, I just exited out of it again. Here we go. All right, it's loading. Stall for time, David. No, never mind. I just found it. All right, you ready? Yeah, I put some random stuff of what I learned. This is what I wrote, just to give you an idea. And I know the people who are going to read this and review it, and I know they're all good people. This is just stuff you have to do for the job. So here we go. I'll be honest. I don't really have much interest in this topic, but what I do think it is important to be sensitive to those who struggle with identity. Identity is something everyone struggles with at some point in their lives, whether it be early on, middle of life, or toward the twilight years. Everyone wants to find a place of belonging, basically. Someone they can call friend or family. We as humans desire this and sometimes don't know the best route to remedy this. I always encourage folks to seek out community, specifically local community, someplace in your city or a neighboring town, and find a place to gather socially. It seems like this wasn't an issue 20 years ago, but for some reason today, both young and old have trouble finding belonging. That's why things like church, community centers, libraries, local events, parks, even your local community college are a good place to start, or a good starting place. It does take work, though. So again, this goes back to, and I referenced intentionality. This goes back to intentionality. And in the video, I basically go through the video and talk about, I find it interesting, the video, the 5 non-binary people, whatever, that the folks don't mention social interaction outside of dating and work. What about your family or even investing in others? I hope that that is something that you eventually learn. I understand struggling with your self-identity and you want to make sure you are strong on your end. But I learned that also reaching out to others and investing in them and having fellowship, even if you aren't all put together, is sometimes a better remedy than reading a normal self-help book. That's what I wrote.
Wow. That is so much more effort than I would have put into that topic.
Also, there was 3 things I had to list that I found on the
orders of magnitude more effort than I would have put into that.
I think they required 200 words, and I gave them like 350 or something. So,
man, you're
A+ student.
You overachiever, you.
A+ student. But anyway, I think that's all I really have to say about that topic. I hope this person, Lexi, or whoever they are, eventually, I'll be praying for them. Like I find it disturbing. I have no idea who this person is. But yeah, I mean, dude, they can do what they want in their life, but I just hope eventually they find something outside of themselves, is all I'll say. So, but that kind of goes into I don't know. Where do you want to go from here, David? I have a few things written down. But did you have anything you wanted to talk about?
Let's see. I had a couple things.
Spaceballs.
I had
great
more
transition.
Yeah, I'm more
transition.
Oh boy. All right, sorry. I had to there's some phlegm in there. I had some more like just mini topics.
Okay.
Like stuff that's not really a whole lot of depth to it. But just fun things that I think are interesting to talk about.
By the way, was not expecting to go that long on that one thing, like changing YouTubers. It's interesting. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
But I guess to continue the theme, the one I'd want to go into, well, not continue the theme, but sort of kind of adjacent to it.
Adjacently?
The one I think I want to go with is Michael Tait of the Newsboys.
Oh, okay. I vaguely heard something, but I don't know any details.
You don't know any details?
Nothing.
So Michael Tait, the current singer, not current singer, but formerly the current singer of the band Newsboys. This is for those who don't know, the Newsboys were a Christian like pop rock band that came up in the 90s and was incredibly popular among evangelical youth. They're from Australia. Their original lead singer, a guy by the name of Peter Furler, departed, and they replaced him with Michael Tait, who ended up being the one who was with them for some of their more recent hits, like God's Not Dead and songs like that. So yeah, Michael Tait has been the singer of the Newsboys for a while. Earlier this year, he left, and it was just kind of a quiet thing. Nobody knew what it was all about. And then what ended up happening is some accusations started to come forth. Ooh. That from men who claim that Michael Tait had touched them in inappropriate ways and unwanted ways.
Whoa.
And
oh my God, I was about to say the quote from Kung Pao, but I won't say it.
You're referring to That's a Lot of Nuts.
That's a lot of nuts.
Oh
so
boy.
Sorry. I don't know. It's been a long day. It just came immediately to my mind. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, David.
That's fine. I approve of such things. All right. Anyway. So
Mr. Sensitive over here.
In response to these allegations, Michael Tait put out a full confession.
Wow.
Saying, yeah, that's true. And not only that, but he confessed to having a long history of abusing cocaine and alcohol as well.
Whoa, dang.
And it turns out that the reason that he left the Newsboys to begin with is that it was a voluntary exit, and he told them that he had been living a double life and he was tired of it and he needed to leave the band and go seek help.
Wow.
And so basically he had already started seeking restoration and repentance for his misdeeds, but tried to do so quietly. And then when these allegations surfaced, unfortunately he had to do the hard thing and own up to it publicly, which he did.
Dang.
And the thing about it is, it's so very different from all the normal scandals in the evangelical world that we're used to. Famous pastor has an affair or
Stealing money.
Yeah, commits a crime of some kind or just does something that is does not befit someone of his position, and they leave the church or they get fired, and both the church they left and them, it's like they try to live life as if that thing never happened.
Yeah.
This is a refreshing example of entirely the opposite approach. Someone who is not trying to simply pretend like he never did anything wrong and move on with his life, but someone who is actively seeking restoration, who's seeking help from people to change his life so that he doesn't go down that road again, and was willing to deal with the situation publicly and openly when it became a public concern. So, yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because I feel like it's such a refreshing thing to see. And there's some unfortunate little side effects of it too. Now Caleb has publicly stated they will no longer play any Newsboys or any DC Talk songs ever again.
Okay.
So
Weird.
it's really weird because this has a knock-on effect to Michael Tait's band members.
Yeah.
Who were not a part of this.
Not a part of it at all. And they put in the work.
And this also this affects people like Toby Mac.
Yeah.
Who weren't even anywhere close to the situation.
Yeah. And what's his face who did Audio Adrenaline later on, who was part of DC Talk. Yeah, what the heck? So Caleb came out and made that statement.
Yeah.
About Air One.
I have no idea. I just know.
That's right. That's why Air One's superior. Air One's supremacy over here, guys.
Well,
we'll see what happens in the next couple days.
Let's hope Air One maintains its position of supremacy.
So how long ago did this come out? Like this week or yesterday? Or
this is pretty recent. This is within this month or last month.
Dang. What the heck?
Like I said, actually, when he left the Newsboys, it was earlier this year.
Oh, really?
I think it was January or February.
Dang.
And
wow.
Of course, he wasn't trying to not that he was trying to hide it necessarily, but he just wasn't trying to make a big public stink about it.
Yeah.
He told his bandmates why he needed to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, he went to, he got treatment for his alcoholism, his drug abuse. So he was putting in the work to try and change his life so that he could, not repeat this same, not keep going down this same path. But, he didn't make a public announcement out of it.
Yeah.
But he wasn't trying to hide it necessarily.
Oh.
But then when
the
allegations came out, then he was kind of forced to, I got to own up to it now.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Dang.
shows incredible bravery on his part, because he could have just not said anything and tried to slink off quietly into a dark corner somewhere and pretend like this never happened. But he addressed it full on. And he made no excuses for his behavior either. He even talked about like he didn't mince words. He called it what it was, sin.
Wow.
And he basically he said that his prayers in this season of his life were very much like the laments of David in the Psalms, crying out for mercy because he knows he's done something wrong and needs to be restored.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, that's all. I mean, first off, that's definitely all between, him and God, and they got to sort that out, obviously, and he's got to sort himself out with that. I did not know this all happened. That's crazy. It makes me think, though, about I don't know, it's weird. I think there's a couple things to this. For me, first off, just want to be clear, I've never been a huge fan of the new version of the Newsboys with Michael Tait. I was never a fan, really. They had some good ones. God's Not Dead's okay. I like that. Born Again was good, their first one, after Fuller left, which, by the way, Peter Fuller and the Newsboys.
Fuller?
Yeah, is it Furler or Fuller?
It's Furler.
Oh, Furler. Sorry.
There's
Furler.
a second R in there.
There it is, because it's Australian, Anyway, I loved Peter Furler. And
speaking of Peter Furler, I remember seeing him drumming with this Stephen Taylor band at a youth conference, and they performed All the Single Ladies by Beyonce.
Dang.
For whatever reason. So
that's awesome.
So it wasn't on my bingo card, but I can say that I've seen Peter Furler play drums to All the Single Ladies.
That's pretty cool. That's awesome. I love it when they what was his face? We were we went to the youth group, on a side tangent here, just real quick. The youth group went to some conference or some concert or whatever, and it was the guitarist of Super Chick was playing guitar for the band, and I couldn't remember what the band was, but it was cool. I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, we haven't seen Super Chick in like a decade at this point, so this is pretty cool. And that kind of reminds me of that. But anyway, back to the Michael Tait stuff. I think Thad will agree with me on this by saying that the new, in quotes, version of the Newsboys, like 2010 and on, when like I was a teenager, that kind of stuff was like pretty overrated and decent in terms of a music perspective, because I love the older stuff. But I was never a huge Michael Tait guy ever, even though I kind of like some of the stuff they did. But I think that's really commendable, honestly, that he went out and said, hey, and he owned up to the sin, basically. And he says he's working on it. So, okay, well, that's between you and God. I hope you guys figure that out and do that. The next thing I think of, though, is if the earlier this year is when he left, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that tells me that he was starting this journey of a healing, for lack of a better term, or change or whatever. And I would happen to guess that he started reconciliation with people he hurt, or he recognized that he hurted people. And I bet you that was the start of some people saying, hey, like, imagine this. Michael Tait, goes to rehab or whatever and does this, like, this rehabilitation of his spiritual life, his physical life, all that kind of stuff, right? But he's also doing this thing where maybe, this is what I'm picturing in my mind. He would go to these people that he hurt and apologize, or just say, hey, I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do? Whatever. I bet you some of these people went and talked to a lawyer and they said, hey, this guy that did hurt me a long time ago, and I never announced it publicly. It's now coming back, and he actually came back and said he's sorry or whatever. And I bet you a lawyer or somebody, some kind of counsel, that person who was a victim said, hey, we could do this and do this, and then get him to speak publicly about it. Like, this kind of, for me, I know it probably sounds like conspiracy theory, but that's something that could totally happen. And I wouldn't imagine if that is the case. Might not be, but I wouldn't imagine that. I wouldn't be surprised, basically. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Michael Tait, huh? I remember seeing them live in concert quite a few times too. You were there, I think, at one of them. You saw Michael Tait and the Newsboys live at one point, right?
Yeah, I saw them. I saw the Michael Tait version of the band live one time.
They always put on a good show live for sure. They're good performers, but
I also
the
only
music,
saw
on the other
that.
hand,
I also saw the Furler version of the band live only one time as well.
God bless you, David.
It was
a bygone era.
It was 1-1 for me.
Ooh.
Which I remember back when I did see them, the Furler version, I was not all that enthused about it because I was never a Newsboys fan.
Yeah, you were never a Newsboys fan, yeah.
And I was like a metalhead when I was younger, so
they didn't fit that pocket.
I went to it was like a concert, like a Christian music festival type thing with multiple bands that was at a theme park, and we went as like a youth group trip like a long time ago, like when I was a teenager. And so the Newsboys were the headlining act. They were the main act. I didn't really care about them. There was a few other ones I wanted to see, but the one I really wanted to see was August Burns Red.
Oh yeah,
a metalcore band that I was into at that point in time. That's like super niche, right? I've since stopped. They were pretty popular.
Oh, okay.
Not like superstardom, but they were pretty popular.
Yeah.
They never got to like As I Lay Dying levels.
No.
I
remember Adelaide listening to them.
Another Christian band whose singer went down a dark path.
Really?
Oh yeah. Tim Lamesis, the vocalist of As I Lay Dying. Yeah, tried to murder his wife.
I remember that.
He put out a hit on his wife, but the person he talked to turned out to be an undercover cop.
That's amazing. I'm glad they caught him.
So yeah, that's a whole situation. But anyway, back to
brings the name of the band to a whole different meaning.
Yeah. Back to August Burns Red. Yeah, I was like, that's the one I wanted to see. And then it was at a theme park, so we were also like riding the rides at the theme park.
Oh, cool.
While it was going on.
Dang.
And I was trying to get back before August Burns Red went on, and I got stuck in a line.
No.
And I missed their entire set.
Aww.
So I was like, yeah. So for me, seeing Newsboys perform live at the end of the evening was not exactly an enthralling experience for me. Although I did find the drum off between their drummer and the lead singer pretty entertaining.
Yeah, they always do. Post Michael Tait and pre Michael Tait, they've always done a good job at that, I would say. Especially the dude who does the drums, who I believe is Australian as well.
They're all Australian.
They all are, except for Michael Tait. He's an American boy, I think.
Yeah, but I mean the band itself.
But the band is
Australian.
Aussies,
Yeah.
God bless you, Australia. You got some. You had AC/DC and Newsboys, and man, those were the good ones, you know. Also, by the way, back on the YouTuber thing, some of my favorite YouTubers are Australian, specifically like tech YouTubers and video game YouTubers. Just saying.
Yeah.
I love the Aussies. They're my kind of people.
I follow an Aussie YouTuber.
You've also a New Zealander.
Do I?
Yeah, isn't Metatron New Zealand? From New Zealand?
Metatron's from Italy.
Oh, he's from Italy. The other island. Okay. That's
Yeah.
not an island, but yeah.
Well, actually, he is from an island because I think I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure he's Sicilian.
Oh, okay, yes.
So that is he is from an island.
Gotcha, cool.
But not
Not
that island.
Not the other corner of the world. Or not at the corner of the world.
Yeah. So I follow one Aussie YouTuber. He's pretty cool. Aussies are a mixed bag for me, man.
Oh, really?
There's just like,
let's get into it. Yeah.
They're just like, oh man, so many of them are just liberal weenies. You know what I'm saying?
You're not lying. I mean, from what they put out on the internet, for sure. Correct. A bunch of liberal weenies, especially with the buyback program with their firearms. I don't know why I said it that way, but yes. Firearms.
Yeah, it's really funny. One meme about Australian people that you see is people referring to them as British Texans. And that might have been true a long time ago.
Long time ago.
It's not true anymore.
No, it's not. No.
But then again, Texas...
yeah, again,
Texas is kind of starting to turn into a bit of a progressive place now too.
Yeah,
so
a little bit more little purple colors being thrown into there.
The rot goes deep.
Thanks, Joe Rogan. Thanks a lot. It's all your fault. No, I'm joking. So yeah, Michael Tait. I'm not here to judge character, but I never really found the whole Michael Tait Newsboys thing very authentic at all or genuine in any way. Just saying. Maybe their performances and the effort they put into them, but even like, I don't know, just I'm not saying there's something that was always been off about Michael Tait, but I always knew that it wasn't like real, like true face, basically. Like it seems like a facade of some kind.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
just listening to the music, listening to the performances. I'm like, he's like, "You guys ready?" And we're like, "Yeah." I'm like,
I mean,
I don't know. They seem to be very what's the word I'm looking for? Like when they perform, when they're in front of the crowd, very I'm trying to find the word and I can't find it. Not inauthentic, but like very showy, very
like commercialized.
Yeah, I guess you could say something like that, but like the worst kind of commercialized Christendom.
You know what's kind of interesting too is reading up on the Newsboys a little bit after hearing about all this.
Yeah.
Apparently that was Peter Furler's concern as well, was the commercialization of the band was something he didn't like, because he did return briefly he did return to the band briefly in like 2018, 2019 or something. Like he did like some more stuff with them. And then I think I read it on Wikipedia, but it was quoted from somewhere else. It wasn't just something that someone made up. Apparently, he had made comments about how he just didn't appreciate that the band had become so much more commercialized in recent years.
Yeah, I remember listening specifically to their live album from, I think it was Houston, Texas, which is a fantastic album, by the way. If you're a fan of Newsboys, it's such a good listen. From the worship songs they do to breakfast, you got Everywhere You Go, you got all the classics in there, and they're great. But even listening to that, I was like, at that point of the Newsboys, when I grew up listening to them and my parents as well, they were big in the like Christian community. Like we loved Peter Furler and the Newsboys. Like we just liked all their songs. Like you'll always hear them on the radio. They always did some pretty unique stuff, especially Breakfast. Like what a classic song. Arguably one of their best, if not the best Newsboy song they've done. Although I will say, Blessed Be Your Name, their version of that, also highly, highly, very, very good. Like we'll put the Newsboys in the same era. Like that era of Newsboys was in the same boat as like Matt. It's not Matt Maurer, is it? It's Matt. I'm gonna have to look at my phone here. I have it on my songs.
Are you talking about the guy who did originally wrote "Blessed Be Your Name"?
No. It's let me get it. It's not Matt Maurer. Is it Matt Maurer?
Are you talking about Matt Mayer?
Yeah, Matt Maher, Michael W. Smith, all those folks were like in that same bucket, at least for us and our family. Like we loved all those guys. And stuff like anyway, but we just loved the Newsboys, and they were a big part of every road trip we were listening to music on, basically growing up. And the new Michael Tait era, it was all right. I felt like the commercialization was the biggest issue for me. Like they were in multiple Christian films, which also weren't very flattering, and not very good. They were in, I remember when I first saw them in concert, it was like 2013 or something, and it was right before God's Not Dead came out. And they were advertising it, and then they were doing a big thing where Michael Tait got on a crane and he's going down through the crowd of the final song, and he's singing it, and he's reaching out to the crowd, and they're grabbing onto him. They're like, "Oh my God!" Like people are like girling out over fangirling and fanboying out over the Newsboys, and I'm like, I'm not really I'm cool with some fangirling every once in a while, but not me personally. Like I don't partake in the fangirling, David. But
Are you sure about that, Jake? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, what do you think of that? You're going to be like, well, Jake, what about Last of Us and Half-Life? It's like, well, hey, that's different. That's different, David. No, I'm joking. But no, I never really jived with that era of Newsboys. I was always kind of, not bitter, but always like kind of used to the Peter Furler age. But back on the Michael Tait stuff, it's commendable that he got out there and admitted and told the truth. Which I think the end goal, if somebody was trying to get him to expose himself publicly, in terms of making a video and admitting to it publicly, it seems like there might be lawsuits or whatever they're trying to initiate. And since he's admitted it and all that kind of stuff, it seems like they were successful in that. And I just hope that he figures it out, and him and God figure it out and all that stuff. And it's just kind of strange. Do we know anything about, is the Newsboys basically over? They're kind of in the same position they were before with, after Furler left.
They're continuing on with,
okay.
With a new singer. I think I didn't look too deeply into it because I'm not a super huge, Newsboys fan to begin with, but I think he was someone who was already a member of the band, was playing another instrument, like he was like their bassist or something, and now he's singing. They actually put out an album too.
Really?
Yeah, so they have a new album with with their new singer, and which is it's terrible timing.
Oh, no.
Because
yeah, it's really bad.
This album's not going to do very well with all that. And I'm trying to find it because I actually want to read his confession, because it's actually really good.
Okay, yeah. Now, did he write did he write up a piece, or did he make a video about his admission to all of this?
It was a text
okay.
admission. Okay. I think I found it. Yes, here we go. But yeah, I actually want to read it because this is really good.
Sure.
All right. So recent reports so this is June 10th. So this is really recent.
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
like about a little over a month ago.
No,
Yeah, it's
like 5 days ago.
you said June 10th. I thought you said May 10th.
No.
Okay, so it's June 10th.
Yeah.
So literally less than a week ago. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay, so recent reports of my reckless and destructive behavior, including drug and alcohol abuse and sexual activity, are sadly largely true. For some 2 decades, I used and abused cocaine, consumed far too much alcohol, and at times touched men in an unwanted sexual way. I'm ashamed of my life choices and actions and make no excuses for them. I will simply call it what God calls it, sin. I don't blame anyone or anything but myself. While I might dispute certain details in the accusations against me, I do not dispute the substance of them. When I abruptly left Newsboys in January, I did so to get help. I was not healthy physically or spiritually and was tired of leading a double life. I spent 6 weeks at a treatment center in Utah receiving help that may have saved my life from ultimate destruction. I've been clean and sober since, though I still have lots of hard work ahead of me. I'm ashamed to admit that for years I have lied and deceived my family, friends, fans, and even misled my bandmates about aspects of my life. I was, for the most part, living 2 distinctly different lives. I was not the same person on stage Sunday night that I was at home on Monday. I was violating everything I was raised to believe by my God-fearing dad and mom about walking with Jesus, and was grieving the very God I loved and sang about for most of my life. By his grace, I can say that for the past 6 months, I have lived a singular life, one of utter brokenness and total dependence on a loving and merciful God. And it's kind of long, but I'll just skip to the end because the end's really good. King David's prayer of repentance in Psalm 51 has been my prayer this year. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to your loving kindness. Blot out my transgressions, wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Create in me a new heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. So, really good.
Yeah.
Really, really well worded, well written, doesn't mince words, gets right down to the heart of the issue.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was really neat.
And not just a confession too, but a public commitment to changing his ways and living a better life.
Yeah. There's definitely people out there that would say, well, why'd you do that? And don't be legalistic over it, people. Like, this guy's obviously hurting and wanted to make a change, and he did, and now he's paying the repercussions for it, basically, But I wish him all the best, man. Like, and I hope eventually, like, if he wants to, like, later in life, keep doing music, because even if I'm not really jiving with what Michael Tait, even though I'm not picking up what he puts down most of the time, I could pick up that. I think that was really good. He did a good job on that. So I'm not really a Michael Tait enjoyer, but I did enjoy that. So. I think honestly, in terms of, I gotta get going soon, but because I gotta get to an appointment. But what I'll say to that, David, is I think a lot of Christians, and myself included, for a season of my life, have really lived lives like that. Not like drugs or anything, but like I haven't done anything like he's done. But there's a point where, especially in being part of youth ministry, where you get to that point of the week where you're like, well, it's getting close to the weekend. I guess I should start, having more intentionality with the Bible and God and prayer and all this kind of stuff. 'Cause especially if you lack that, whether it be because of life and you're busy, or because of, maybe out of laziness, I've struggled with that in my life, where like, well, weekend's almost here. I guess it's time to get spiritual.
Yeah.
Especially when like it was just me and Steven, and we were like basically like the only people leading youth group for the longest amount of time, which was probably like 2 years or whatever, but it felt a lot longer. And those years were rough. And there were several weeks where we would look at each other at the end of the night and be like, wow, we actually did it. We got through another Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
There's been times and and a lot of people who do ministry or even worship go through. And I don't think that's a very uncommon thing that Michael Tait's referring to, really. I don't know. What do you think of all that?
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things that's like, the music industry has a lot of temptations.
I was going to bring that up too. Yeah, I'm glad thank you.
Especially even for Christian artists, like just because you're part of a Christian band on a supposedly Christian label doesn't mean you're going to be immune from those temptations.
Yeah.
The world's going to try to creep in no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's to what you were talking about, like, it can be easy sometimes to sort of, because you've heard the phrase Sunday Christian, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be easy sometimes to, like, not put ourselves in that category because, we're actively involved in ministry and we're doing all this and we're doing all this. So we're much more than a Sunday Christian. But I mean, the root thought process, the root behavior, still kind of the same, and it's something that can creep into your life if you're not careful. It's definitely crept into my life at certain points. But we got to be on guard against that stuff. We can't be Sunday Christians. Yeah. We can't be Saturday and Sunday Christians. We can't be Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday Christians. We got to be all 7 days Christians.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of appropriate that we are, at least in our community, there's the local VBS is happening. And, if you are a Saturday or Sunday Christian, it's like, that's the real test right there is a vacation Bible school, being on it 7 days a week, I don't know. It's just, I'm glad you brought up the music industry stuff. I was going to mention that earlier, but yeah, it's those temptations are still there. Just because you're going to this venue doesn't mean that it's a Christian venue. There's still going to be people who work there who got connections, and there's temptations and all this kind of stuff, and on the road and labels and all that kind of thing. So, and also with commercialization too, like that's also another sad side effect of a lot of that stuff. Like when the money gets involved and you want to get your word out there, but is it really the word? Is it really your face you're trying to get out there? Your words you're trying to get out there? Like something that's not entirely the point of it, I don't know. It's just something I think about. But interesting. Well, Michael Tait, we wish you the best. I'm sure you're listening to this. Not really.
Yeah. He's one of the 12.
Yeah. I kind of want to go into a bigger discussion about Christians and those who left the faith and whatnot, but I have to get going. So we'll have to save that for another episode. I think that'd be a fun discussion. And going through some more notable, or not more notable, but definitely additional notable people that have done something like this. But this was the first example that I've seen where it's like kind of handled in the best way, just from hearing about what he said and everything in his write-up. So yeah. Anything else, David, on that guy?
No, nothing else.
You're going to go listen to his music right now, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. Anyway. Well, let's get the heck on out of here, David. And again, thank you for what you do. Thank you for David for being on this podcast. And what do you got planned for this today?
Absolutely nothing.
All right, cool. So
I'm enjoying my weekend.
That's right. This is your weekend. Yeah, a Monday afternoon.
Yes.
I mean, it is. We're not.
Yeah,
we're not joking. It is his weekend.
I'm one of those lucky souls who gets to work 410s. I really like 410s as opposed to 5/8s.
It's so much better than 5/8s. Oh my god. So, well, cool. I'm gonna go see the How to Train Your Dragon remake.
I pity you.
Yeah. I feel for myself as well. It's funny. I was watching what's that channel? Who it's the sword reviews guy who has talked with Sargon before. I can't remember his name. Night's Watch. Have you ever seen that?
Maybe.
They review swords, but their culture channels like Night Watch, and they review movies or do culture podcasts or whatever.
I don't think I've seen that. No.
He's really cool. I think he might be Christian or maybe Catholic. I can't remember. But anyway, he reviewed it, and he's very critical about a lot of things. And he said he liked it, and it was pretty decent and good. And of course, the animated is better. I mean, of course, it's going to be, but it was pretty good for what.
You know what that tells me? Tells me that DreamWorks sent Shrek to pay a visit to that guy's house to persuade him to leave a good review.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll bid you adieu on this episode 70 of the Snarp Fangle Podcast. Have a great one. We'll see you next week. And Snarp Fangle on.
Bye-bye now.
I've heard tales of your incredible power. How about a friendly spar to test our strength?
Sure, Goku. Let's see what you've got.